All right, welcome back to AM Live. My name is Ken Mijung. With me on the table this morning is Herman Manyora. We have Richard Onyonka Okongo Mogeni, Alice Wahome, and of course, David Ucheng now joins us. Thank you for joining us, David. And you have missed quite some discussion, but let's go to the substance of our discussion. That was, by the way, based on what happened, the last story we ran here. So let's talk about today, 30th, being the deadline. The CBK is said to have missed the mark. Even before I speak about CBK, perhaps something you should weigh in last week when KRA appeared in the House, and KRA itself could not get its papers in order. They had to be sent back. I don't know if any one of you sits in that committee here.
No, but I was a friend of the committee. You're a friend?
You sat that day?
Yes.
You're in the committee. What really happened if KRA cannot get its papers right? And these are the people we trust with our taxes. Just briefly.
You see, when you have the Director General coming and saying that we haven't, or is making a presentation and it doesn't come out crisp and clear, normally it's a tactic for him to consult, and it's a tactic for him to spend time trying to make sure that he actually deals with the issues which are being raised in the House.
So it's deliberate?
Sometimes it's deliberate. I
Okay.
thought I saw it more like a deliberate move.
Okay.
The other issue that I wanted to mention to you is that you've made a statement how CBK has actually failed on its target.
Yes.
CBK hasn't failed. It simply means that there's somebody somewhere, or there are people who have 100 billion shillings which they've been unable to return back to the bank. I don't know why you're saying that they have failed. They have not failed. What is happening is the amount of money, if all the cash would have been returned back into the treasury, then they would have, according to you, succeeded. No, the purpose of this exercise was to demonetize, take away the cash which has been taken from the, what is called the dark economy, back into the official economy. And according to me, when you had the central bank governor talking about wheat being bought in Narok, and by yesterday there was also information coming out that there was maize that was actually being bought in Kitale and in some parts of the Rift Valley where people were being offered money.
And this is maize still in the gardens?
And this is maize which is in the stores. No.
Okay.
There are millions of bags of maize which is in the stores of those farmers. What actually the government did, and the central bank very skillfully, they actually went out and said, if you go and bring that money tomorrow, we're going to ask you who paid it to you. So yes, we agree. You go and collect the cash, but we are going to ask
We need
you.
to know the buyer.
And the farmers rejected it. By yesterday, even in Narok, the farmers, the first 2-3 days, they were actually aware, and the central bank and the national government structure, which exists, you know that, Ken. So to me, the central bank has not failed in collecting the old notes. Yes. They've actually succeeded.
Okay, they've actually, Professor.
I'm not an expert, so I don't want to talk where experts should be talking. But I know if you have 217 billion and you collect roughly over 100 billion, there must be something happening. It must tell a story. So the central governor, the governor of central bank says he's going to talk to Kenyans tomorrow. To the last 1,000,
yes,
how much has been collected, how much is outside there, and as an expert, I'm waiting for him to tell me what story does that tell Kenyans? That you have 100 billion, 90 billion that you were expecting that we don't have. What does it mean for the economy and to a layman like me? I'm just waiting to be told.
Okay, yeah. David.
Now, two things. I'll start with the first one, the issue of KRA. Ken, sometimes I just wonder where our country is going, because Parliament has become the most useless institution in this country as regards oversight. So any minister, any government official can come to the assembly unprepared, and they don't care what will happen in Parliament. If they're told go back, they'll go back. They believe there are no sanctions. And that happens because even where a minister or a PS or a public institution has been fingered for stealing or for corruption, we still vote money for them. They know that there's nothing that will happen to them. So you can come, you can wake up in the morning, you pick up your diary without caring what's going to be asked in Parliament, and you come to Parliament. That's what's happening now. And so I believe Parliament's oversight role has to be reaffirmed and has to be restated and has to be relooked into, so that we're able to provide that oversight. Otherwise, you're going to see a lot of this happening. But it's not only KRA. In the last 3-4 months, you probably know that a couple of PSS have been asked to go back because their papers are not right. You've had ministers and PSS questioning the Auditor General's report. You see, the process of auditing is quite lengthy. By the time the auditor gives a report, he's gotten back and forth with these bodies that are being audited. But then because they know that Parliament is the weakest link in all this, they can come there and prepare calls.
They know they get away with it.
Yes, and that is something that I thought media would probably want to focus on. Okay. The way we as Parliament handle people who come before us on issues of audit. I think it's very casual, the way we do it, and that's why the people who come before us also have decided to be casual.
Okay.
Number 2, on the issue of demonetizing the 1,000 shillings note. 2 things happen normally, Ken. If you want to make a law and your mischief is an individual or a set of individuals, you normally miss the point. The law is meant to serve the larger good. The law is meant to serve the public. And so, for me, the success of this whole thing of 1,000 shillings note is already apparent. People responded. People have returned the money. Unless there's some money somewhere that you were hoping someone is going to return, or unless you're hoping that you're going to arrest somebody because of this, is when you're going to see you failed. But if you talk about mopping up, and you're being told more than 100 billion shillings has been mopped up, I must say that Kenyans have responded to the policy and to the law that was put in place that, return so that we issue new notes. A couple of possibilities are there that probably the figure states have been out there in terms of the old notes probably could be higher. I think we need to look at it on both sides.
Do you mean the central bank would be bluffing with this, would not be honest, telling us this is the amount that is outside?
Yeah, I mean, who has audited those facts to know that the figure given by CBK as money being out there is the real figure?
But why would they be bluffing with this? Why would CBK be playing politics?
One thing that this country is very difficult. I mean, it's very...
That they would know.
No.
Is there
Yeah,
more releases?
no, but I'm just concerned with the change.
Look,
That they would be playing politics.
Look, I'll be allowed to finish my point.
Yes.
As a country, one thing, Ken, that we like banding around is something called numbers. But when you ask to account for those numbers, you'll find that probably the numbers that are being given to us by CPK are numbers probably that should not add up. Because like Haman has said, if your target is 270 billion, you've only mopped up 112 billion. How are you going to explain this difference?
Ken,
Because it's not been returned.
Ken, could I please change?
Can I speak to Okongo, then I come to you? Yes. Senator.
Yeah, I think first,
Yes, I know.
Ken, government is always a very cunning animal.
Okay.
So when the government tells you they want to mop up these 1,000 shillings, I'm sure there is some mischief. They
wanted to address with that
somewhere.
Yes.
And it's like when KRA tells you we are giving you tax amnesty for 1 year and you can now declare your tax. What they want to do is to bring you to the tax net. And I think on these 1,000 note, the government wanted to nap in people who maybe hide money in their houses but are not paying taxes. So I think the repercussions will start coming out after the 30th. That's when, if there is anybody who casually walked into the bank and gave his money in exchange for the new notes, I think those are the people the government wanted. But if on the other hand, there are people who had this money hidden in their houses and they feared bringing it out, then the government has won. Because this illicit money should not be out there. It should be, the government should benefit. If you have money somewhere, you must pay your taxes. We must know where you are getting it. We must get out of criminal elements and all that. So after tomorrow, we'll know whether this has been a success or not. But what worries me is if we have not netted more than half of this money, where is this money?
Where is the 100?
Yeah, and how did we acquire it? Because if you have money in the house, you've been told return the money, but you don't want to get it. Well, how did you acquire it? That should worry us. It means there are people in this country who have blatantly and in a very primitive way stolen our money, to the extent that they cannot be bold enough to come and say, have this money in the house? Yes. So going forward, the government should tighten the noose around people who are stealing from our public coffers.
But do you agree with what Mheshimiwa Ocheng is saying, that perhaps these are figures that were abandoned? It's not real. That 200
my conclusion is that this is money that was acquired through corrupt ways.
Okay.
And people are not being bold
Willing,
to
they're
come.
not
That's why
bold
you are
enough to
hearing.
return it, yes.
That's why you are hearing
Moish, I'm
people.
coming to you.
You can imagine how desperate
really
people
itching
are.
on
I know.
this. I'm really itching
Ken,
on this.
Yes.
you can imagine how desperate people are. You know, to hide the fact that it's them who had this money. People are going all the way to Narok to buy maize,
wheat, yes.
to buy wheat. Some are going to Kitale. What that should tell the government is that there are people who are stealing from our public coffers.
Okay.
And they hide this money in their houses to use it in some very corrupt ways, including wanting to give this money to the people but not declaring the source
Wait,
of that money.
I'm still interested. Alice, speak to me, then I come to Mheshimiwa. I'm still interested in an aspect that David also brought up. Yes.
First, you know, even for the country to reach a point where we are told there is 200 and something billion shillings that is somewhere not in the banks, I think some people were...
No, not really. That's not what they said. They just said in circulation there is 217 billion. In circulation, 1,000 shilling notes.
In
yes.
circulation, the 1,000 note
Yes.
was not necessarily in the bank. According to
Yes,
Kenya's
not necessarily in the bank,
Not
but it's-
necessarily in the bank. It's circulating somewhere,
Yes.
doing like almost like barter trade, you know, right? Buying things off the bank transaction, the banking transaction.
No, that's not what they say, Alice.
You know,
That's not
you know, if you listen to Okongo's
Yes.
statement,
Yes.
he's saying, for example, I still have some maybe 1 billion shillings, and I need to use it.
Yes.
And I can't use it through my bank because I'll be questioned.
Yes.
So the best thing I'll go to Manyora. He has maybe several blocks of flats. I buy 2 or 3. I give him the cash. It's his problem now to know how he will. But you don't have to use one person. Then you use different people. So this kind of money to reach a point where there is a problem and it's not properly acquired. That's where I'm, you know, because why should we be concerned if we have the money in the right way and circulating properly?
Yes.
Then we shouldn't be cracking down the whip. The point is, it is believed that this money was irregularly, corruptly acquired. And therefore...
This is the one that cannot be accounted for.
Yes, because it cannot be accounted for. It means it's not regularly, procedurally, through the processes acquired.
Yes.
It's lost through all these various tactics. And therefore, it cannot be properly saved. I mean, it's not properly secured in that manner. You know, it is hidden all over.
Okay.
But the point for me is that according to Central Bank, and I think it is important that they speak to us tomorrow, the governor speaks to us maybe tomorrow and tell us how he came to this conclusion, and then after that conclusion, how much we have received, thereafter what he will do with the balance.
Okay.
Because I'm sure he has not then hit his target. And there must have been some other consequences. If he doesn't meet the target, what will he do with the remaining money?
You lose it. You lose it. There's
No,
nothing else. You just
I
lose
don't
it.
know. I don't want to arrive at that
I will have to
conclusion.
find some in my house.
For me, so therefore,
I hope you've taken it back.
and I have seen that people, that kind of money, for me, I don't think it can be with one person.
One person,
It's
100
very,
billion.
yeah,
It's a lot of
200
money.
billion. It's many people.
Not 200, it's about 100
both,
billion. Yes.
Both government officers, maybe even Kenyans who you would not even suspect, who have been trading with the government.
Okay.
And therefore, including politicians for that matter. But you know also some of that money may not be here.
Okay.
You know also, maybe we are looking for it in the wrong places.
But
It may
Mheshimiwa,
not
even as you
necessary.
speak,
Yes.
you know what I'm not understanding from Mheshimiwa Alice's explanation?
Yeah.
The central bank issues notes every single day. Like right now, there are new notes that have been issued.
Yes.
The central bank can account and say, in terms of the 1,000 shillings note, we have released 1 million of them,
Yes.
right, of 1,000 shillings. They'll know we have 1 million outside. So when we want it back, we should get everything we released. I mean, it can't go to a foreign country.
No, but
Ken,
you
thank
see,
you.
hold
Yes.
on. You see, you can actually convert it to foreign currency.
No.
We are
Where?
locally-
But it must be in the bank.
Because even Uganda
Ken,
cannot
you
accept
can.
this money.
It must be accounted for, even if you convert it.
Ken,
Yeah,
if
even
you-
if you
Even the
say,
embassies
Let me
will
clear
Even
rely
if you
on
convert
it.
it, must be accounted
Let me
for.
clarify.
It is my turn. Please allow me. Allow me.
Mheshimiwa
It
Onyonka.
should actually be my
Because
turn.
one of the things I went to school for is this.
Yes.
Yes.
How does the IMF tell you as a country that you've been printing money for expenditure? Every country in the world has got an audit
Yes.
of the money which they print. We know who prints money in the world. There are about 4 companies, including Belarus. anytime De La Rue prints
Of course, there are serial
money,
numbers.
the money actually is reflected to the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a bank in America. Directly, anybody who wanted to do research and find out how much money the central bank is carrying in terms of which denominations, what amounts, whether it's in dollars, euros, or is in Chinese currency, the government, the central bank knows, and that record exists.
Yes.
So what I was trying to do, and Ochieng, I'm not defending the government. I'm just saying that the internationally best practice allowed and accepted is that governments will print money and will keep an audit of that.
Yes.
What actually the Central Bank of Kenya did was very simple. They mapped out how much money every Forex Bureau keeps. They then mapped out how much money every commercial bank keeps. They then went and looked at how much money is kept within the strong room at the central bank. That is how you know how much money is out there,
Yes.
which is not accountable in the economic
System,
sector,
yes.
sectors. So as a result, the reason why for me I'm saying that the amount of money that is out there is not because the central bank made a mistake.
Okay.
They didn't. The issue that is there is this. Every individual who was keeping money in the house had to present this money. And you know, the way Kenyans we behave, central bank has been very skillfully and slowly telling us a certain amount of money is here. Remember there was a time when they said Forex bureaus have been trying to have individuals who are actually going there at night or going there sometimes to withdraw money. The central bank blocked that. Then there was an issue of saying about 800 accounts had actually been flushed out. Why would the central bank flush that out? The money which has been flushed out, the money which is out of the economy circulation, does exist out there. People have feared to return this money because once you give more than 500,000 shillings, the central bank picks it.
Yes.
So you have to go and account where this money is. So in reality, the point I'm making for me is very simple. It is true, and this is a very good point that Mheshimiwa Ochieng brought in and Mama Alice. Let us wait for the central bank to now give us an audit back
Okay.
on what they have done.
Okay.
What money have they collected? How much money? Even the regions, they'll tell you.
Okay.
They'll tell you that
How much?
the amounts which were flashing, Nairobi had the largest number, or if it is
Followed by
Mombasa,
this,
or
followed
it
by
is,
this. Okay.
that is true.
Mheshimiwa
I think-
Manyora, I'm coming to you.
I think, first of all, we must support Ochieng when he says government and other people are very good with figures. The best example is in the sugar sector. This is deficit. We are lacking so much in thousands of tons of sugar, and therefore let's open for imports. We have a deficit of so much bags, so many bags of maize. Let's open when the reality is it is not true. Nobody has ever established as a fact how much sugar in terms of deficit are we talking about. So I agree with Ochieng, but I think this guy Onyonka has explained clearly. It's not easy for the central bank not to know how much money is in circulation.
Yes.
But like I said earlier, the 90 or so billion that is not accounted for, that they have not collected, tells a story. And my guess would be a lot of this money is corruption money. It's money when you give people a tender of say 80 million shillings and they give you your bit, because as a company that is tendering, they have the capacity to withdraw as much money as they want. So in Westlands somewhere there in a bank, they will give you a 20 million. You know, you can't very easily take this money to the bank. You use a bit of it buying things, and maybe 5 remains you keep in the house. Cumulatively, there must be Kenyans who have billions of money. And let me tell you, Ken, it's not easy to try and change 100 billion. You can use all it is so tricky. I'm telling you, I was trying to calculate. It is so difficult.
Yes.
You have 2 billion in your house.
Yes.
And you want to convert that into new currency. My friend,
It's a job.
you will sweat. It's not easy. So I will not be surprised that as the clock ticks towards midnight today.
Not midnight, end of business, 5 p.m.
No. It's
Banks are
up to
closed.
it's up to midnight, because if you go like to the airport,
Okay.
you find banks are open. So
the
let me
airport.
advise Kenyans.
No, but they'll be
After 4 o'clock, you can rush to the airport. There are banks that do 24 hours. There's National Bank.
That
That yet.
But you know,
By 11:59,
today.
make your way to the banks in the airport, deposit your money. But the idea is there will be people who are looking at this money and wondering, what can I do?
Yes.
Let me ask them if they are listening.
To bring it to you.
Give me some. I can change.
For me, by the way,
Yes.
this ain't a laughing matter as such. Because, you know, if you take the country to a path and say you are demonetizing and you tell us the reason you're demonetizing, then you must see some results. Otherwise, you'll be doing, you know, you don't do policy in vain. So, we were told when this policy was rolled out that India tried this and it never worked. Not half the money was returned in India. Number two, probably you know, Mijungo, that without demonetizing, Central Bank always has a way of getting money off the market when the money gets old, defaced. And so, you know, people are going to use so many means to have this money gotten back. I've been waiting to hear from CBK whether any monies have been returned because it's defaced or it's become very bad. And also remember, when was this 1,000 shillings released to the country? The first time. How many years has it been in circulation now?
Quite a while.
So that the numbers being given to us, are they absolute numbers or numbers, the recent numbers that would tell us that what Central Bank was hoping to receive is what, because you know, the reason this for me is important, Mijungu, is that then this becomes another way of kicking the can along the road, where we do this fails, we look for another policy system that fails. I always thought that the best thing to do is to have discipline in what you want to do, and consider options of doing what you want to do. What were the policy options available to Central Bank when this was being done? And so, yes, I'll be waiting to hear what Dr. Janoge says tomorrow,
Yes.
as to why we've not collected more than half the money they hope they're going to collect. All of us should probably wait.
Okay. Senator Omogeni, the tragedy again for this is that the 90 billion, because it's about 90, 100, the 90 billion could be in very few hands, probably less than 10 hands in this country, probably less.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But I think, the point I was trying to make is that going forward, we need to see loopholes. You know, Manyora has made a case here that people who are holding this money and who don't want to bring it back to the bank is because they acquired it through an illicit way, through corruption. These are people who have, monopolized tenders in this government tenders, and they get kickbacks. Now, will this stop going forward? Because you can stop receiving kickbacks from the old notes, but what about going forward? If tomorrow somebody is getting a tender and is told to give a kickback, will this continue? Will it be business as usual? Unless we cap the loopholes of corruption, this will continue. It will just be a business as usual.
Can I borrow a minute from you to show how we can do that? Going forward, in the interest of this country, we need to make it extremely difficult for you to transact business in cash. Other countries have done that. It should be almost impossible for you to transact business using anything like 1 million shillings or even 500,000. We should make it so difficult. Secondly, no transaction should be sanctioned by government where the other agencies are not involved. For example, nobody should just walk to a showroom and buy a car, V8, and leave 15 million there. Nobody should just buy my land, or which I don't have, his, and pay him 8 million shillings and get the land transferred. You should not get that title before the government knows.
That is so true.
The agencies, you should not register property in this country without all the agencies know how you got that money.
Okay.
If we do that...
Or in that case, Ken, I'll give you an example. NTSA, if somebody is going to buy a vehicle, NTSA should have this car's record.
But they do.
Thank you.
Yes.
This record should include how you are paying for it. This payment cannot be in cash.
What happened to free market?
It doesn't change. It doesn't stop you from operating in a free market economy. The free market economy, which is in Europe and in America, has got systems in place.
Of accountability.
In other words, we must have a system on how we trace how much money we are handling as individuals.
Okay.
Right now, you don't have that. If you want to buy land, you can actually pay 1.2 billion shillings without showing how you've paid for that land, but the ownership will be transferred. There must be a way for us to move forward. This country must have systems which are functional.
Okay.
It's not just changing notes.
And you know where that starts?
Yes.
Where you sit.
Oh yeah, but I can tell you this. Thank you. I can tell you this.
True.
Every time we have brought the bill to Parliament of changing how we are actually supposed to register our land through using ICT, you remember? Every time it dies.
Because
Every time it dies.
Cartels.
If we pass a bill where we are going to say from now on, what is wrong, for example, with somebody paying school fees for his kids through, we are already doing it with M-Pesa anyway. All right. In other words, for us to stop the corruption that is in our country, like Professor Manyora has said, let us demonetize.
Demonetize. I'm just reminded that actually this is not a government policy. It's enshrined in the Constitution that after some time we shall change the current to reflect the new Constitution, to remove the statutes and all. So it's actually in the Constitution.
Yes.
No, but what I said, Mijungu, when I started, remember?
Yes.
What I said when I started. And that's why I told you that failure or success of this will depend on how you look at it.
Yes.
When this thing was announced in Narok, it was supposed to be punitive. It wasn't meant to be what you're telling me.
It sounded punitive.
Yes,
it just sounded punitive.
That's the point.
Yes.
And that's why those who have spoken this morning,
yes.
you hear the drift.
Okay.
The drift is as if this was meant to nab some corrupt people. It wasn't meant to change the currency to reflect this place.
Let
me just finish this, Mijungu, because you brought it up.
It was meant
and that's what I said earlier.
Corruption going on.
That's what I said earlier.
Yes.
That if the policy was meant to respond to the Constitution, then it's okay. And that's why you've seen that in the new releases, we have other currencies having new faces. We have a new 100 note. We have new 500 shillings note. You know that.
200,
We have all of this as new. But the first is about
the demonetization.
there are 1,000 shilling
1,000.
notes.
Yes, the 1,000.
Okay? And see, I mean, I'm not an economist, but I would have said, okay, if you're monetizing, then do away with it even totally. If you wanted to have it drastic, do away with the 1,000 shillings totally. You don't release a new one. And so for me,
and strengthen the 500 shillings.
Yes, it's on this matter and on what the Honorable Onyonka is talking about. We already have enough law in this country. In terms of laws that would help us fight corruption, we got enough. We just don't implement them. We don't just enforce our laws. Look at it this way, that someone always sitting at EACC or a DCI waiting for the president to give what they're calling the political goodwill. Why? Why do you need... In America today, the head of intelligence, FBI, said, if allowed, he's going to say what Trump told a foreign president, so that Trump can be held accountable. You know that's happening now. Okay?
Yes.
So that instead of doing things right, instead of following the law, we're always waiting for the president to say something about, oh no, there's no lack of political will, lack of this. We got enough laws. We just need to implement these laws to ensure that these things work.
Okay, Alice, this for us.
Yeah,
yes.
I just want, I said that we needed to know the reasons properly, so that, because there has been a lot of speculation as to why this was done. So I suppose there will be a target, the objective will be explained properly tomorrow so that Kenyans can understand. And indeed, it was not about changing the currency so that we can comply with the Constitution, because the other denominations are still in circulation.
They don't have a time frame.
They don't have a time,
removed from circulation.
In fact, there are still very many new 100 shillings. I went and I asked for 10,000, and I was expecting to be given the new. I was given the order. I said,
and they still indicate 2010.
And they said,
on the face,
and they are as old as the 1,000. So I think I agree with Ochieng. If this law was made for a specific few, then it will fail. If it was a policy to strengthen the economy and to deal with corruption, then it needs to be taken to the next level.
Okay.
And by the time we reached that point, then the institutions have failed.
Okay.
So, and that's what I was saying. They have failed because how are we having money that is, so irregularly then obtained by a few, like we have been maybe 10, 20 people,
15 people.
15 people. How did we reach there? That can't be an exercise of 2-3 years.
And because I don't think a poor person, the average Kenyan here, even you MPs with more money than an average Kenyan, will have money in their house.
To begin with, politicians are hard to bring this money back. Most of us are the ones who've been hiding it in our houses.
Which politicians have money? They're lying to you. Most politicians are broke people.
Most
of them have no money to give in their houses. Maybe 3 or 4 of them.
He knows who has the money.
The point I want to make here is this.
First who to return the money.
Very few of them have money to return.
Let me make some.
So the point I want to make here is this.
For money from politicians, we'll
point of information here.
If you wanted this money back, you don't have to do drama on this. Nikileta 1,000 unaweka unanipatia mpya. If someone brings, you didn't have to make a fuss out of this. Anyone who wants to withdraw 500,000 shillings, give him the new notes. Don't give him the old ones. slowly by slowly you get this off the market. You don't have to make fuss over it, in my opinion. That's why I hold the position I hold.
Okay.
That this thing of putting deadlines and all this too much drama.
You know, the governor of the central bank, I'm surprised you seem not to have heard. He said he was fighting corruption.
Yes.
Yeah.
He said,
That's what he said.
too many corrupt
No, he
people
said that,
outside
yes.
there doing
And that's,
all manner of
and that's why you are,
He said that.
and that's why your reading of the constitution of this on this issue is not the right way.
So
I
it
understand
is
now
true
what
that
where
there
I'm
were...
Collecting money which have been stolen from government coffers.
Okay. So these had nothing to do
And
with it.
if so much of that money has not been returned, now I can say that
Then he has
they
succeeded.
have succeeded.
Yes, success.
That's my point.
Okay. Okay. Anyone wants to weigh in? We need to
I
move
think
on.
the only thing is, you know, there are people who watch these programs. And you remember we were here sometime and Honorable Kioni promised to do something on Harambes. I can see an initiative, something on page 6 of
with the bill,
today's Star.
yes,
So I think slowly we can make progress. You know, there is a very important point that has been made by Manyora, that going forward, if we reduce cash transactions, we'll be able to reduce incidents of corruption in this country. If we do that, that will be a success. And you know, we have come a long way. We have reached you know, the point in this country where the state can actually take away from you and explain wealth. If you have money that you cannot explain the source, the government can take it back. EACC, I think this financial year has surrendered to the central bank 100 million that was recovered from these raids they were conducting in houses. Where you find somebody has 20 million in cash, 5 million, this is a chief officer in account government, they cannot explain.
You
can imagine.
So,
what does that tell you?
Yes.
It tells you that there are some people, untouchables, who EACC do not raid, but who had that money somewhere.
Yes.
I don't know that they are going to use it for lighting fire, because from midnight,
You can't use it anyway.
You can't use it.
Alternatively, they can see Manyora.